XCAL Auto is Accuver's cloud remote monitoring and testing solution. It allows an engineer to remotely monitor devices live in the field and then perform tests on them, all from inside a web browser in the comfort of their own office. Those files then get automatically uploaded and processed by XCAL Auto, and the engineer can do some basic analysis on them right from their web browser. The XCAL Auto platform consists of three major parts. The X-Remote application that's installed on the phone. It's a very easy to use interface that requires little to no training. It automatically reports back KPIs back to the cloud and will run tests when requested. The X-Manager app runs in a web browser and allows engineers to remotely monitor UEs in real time. It also allows them to perform tests on the UEs and then schedule tests for the future. And then finally, the XView application will go ahead and analyze the log files that were collected and give you some basic analysis. It also provides root cause analysis to help improve your troubleshooting. Since XCAL Auto is in the cloud, it's extremely scalable. You could have one UE in an RF chamber and then the engineer sitting in the comfort of their own home using it. You could have 4 UEs given to a drive tester, and then an engineer in the office could remotely control and perform the tests they want when they want them. You could have a dozen UEs spread around an eNodeB, and a single engineer can control them in order to test the maximum throughput of that eNodeB. You could also scale up to dozens of UEs, spread around a large area, and see how they work with different handovers and how they interact with different eNodeBs. All of this from a single user interface and only requiring either one or maybe a handful of engineers. XCAL Auto reduces a lot of the complexities in RF testing. For drive testers, XCAL Auto requires little to no training at all to be able to use, as it's all controlled from the cloud. For engineers controlling XCAL Auto, it provides a singular user interface and a single tool that can scale up from one UE all the way to hundreds of UEs. And with automations, it can reduce the amount of errors that can happen when performing tests. And for analysis, it cuts down the size of log files and automatically processes them. So engineers don't need to wait for those log files to process for them to be able to do their work. Additionally, it does some basic root cause analysis so you can hammer out the easy issues really quickly. I'm going to do a real quick demo of XCAL Auto so you can kind of see how it works. Right now we have a few different UEs spread across the city. I'm able to see all of them, see their RSRPs, and control them. If I want a bit more information, I can check the live monitor. I can add some UEs in here, and I can check on their status in real time, see what bands there are, see what the RSRP or signer is, and then check the throughput. I can also see them if they're moving around. I can see little dots of what the different RSRP or throughput values were as they were driving around. If I have a bunch of UEs, I can check on the statuses of all of them here. I can also do things such as set up a test and have them run. I'll go ahead and send them a ping scenario really quickly. And then I'll go ahead and have all my devices run a ping test right now. We can see those devices are slowly coming online as they're running their ping tests, giving us a green telling us that they're running the test right now. There's a bunch of different tests that we can perform with XCAL Auto. So we can do standard voice calls, we could do FTP, HTTP, and iPerf tests for your download tests, as well as ping tests and YouTube tests if you want some consistent data. We also have the ability to mix and match these tests, so we can run tests at the same time or have them run one after another using the multi-session options. We can also set these tests to run on a certain schedule. So if you want something to run in the middle of the night when you don't want to be awake, you can set that up and it will automatically run then. Finally, the XCAP section is where we can look over all of the logs that we just collected with our tests. So right here we have a multi-day test where we're driving around the city. We can see what was successes, what was failures, and we could see some basic statistical information about all the different tests we performed. So things like throughput, ping timings, RF qualities, and all the different events that happened. If we want to look a bit closer, we can go to the call table and see the result of all the different calls that happened. Whenever the file is processed, we get some basic RCA information. So if there's a failure, like right here, this can give us some basic information about why that failure may have happened. We can also look at this in different formats, such as a map format, where I can select the log files I want to look at, and then look at some information, such as the RSRP on a map, or the throughput information. And finally, I'm able to create some automated reports at the end. So if I want to, I can choose a bunch of log files, put them in the report section, and then I can get a report at the very end without having to do all the different processing and taking screenshots myself. And here's a real basic example of one of the reports that was created. So we can see all the different calls that occurred here, some basic RSRP, SINR, RSRQ, and we can see some specifics about the tests that happened, such as the different RX throughputs for our iPerf tests that we did. We can also see all the different handovers that happened throughout our test. We hope you enjoyed this introduction to XCAL Auto and hope that it gives you new insights on how to improve your testing and post-processing workflow.